Hello and welcome back to Build It Faster. We are your hosts, Mike and Joe, and we got a couple of questions today. We're starting to be a little more deliberate. Thank you, Mike, for preparing these questions, prompts, if you will. What should our quote body of work look like? I thought that was a good one. And then, how can we mine gold out of the PP archive? We have to start saying the whole name, pattern practice, because calling it the PP show, I think it was part of the reason we didn't get a lot of traction. But those are two questions today. Though we can go anywhere because we can cut out if we catch up. Happy New Year, bud.
Happy New Year, man. Yeah, I mean, so I was driving and it kind of like occurred to me that, I want to have some kind of cohesive product, out of this. And I had started, when I say driving, I was driving a long distance. I had a lot of time to think. It was like a 16-hour drive. So I was just thinking a lot. And a couple things came to mind. One is that when we set out with the Pattern Practice podcast, one of the thoughts that I had all along with just recording a ton of content was that we could go back and take that collection of content and create something, like synthesize something out of it in the future, or synthesize many things out of it in the future. And I was also thinking about how we don't currently have anything that I would call like canon. We don't have like a book. We don't have like a repository of like lessons. Nothing organized that way. I'd say the closest thing that we have to a repository would be like our podcast. You could go back and you could listen in long form. If you were to approach us hoping to like learn, as like a curriculum or something like that, like we don't have that. And so I was thinking about what that would look like what is the body of work that we even want to have, and how should it be structured. And what I came up with that at least seemed, more cohesive than what we have today is like a book, maybe like a repository. That's why I used both of those terms. I think of it as kind of a living book, a book that can be updated. Maybe if we learn something new or we want to adapt or adjust kind of the lesson or the message, we can do that. And I thought it could be something that we're able to monetize. Maybe our show is free, but our book or access to our book is a membership thing. Maybe for Patreon members, we don't have to overcomplicate it. And I also thought it would be cool, and this is where some of the synthesis comes in, if our living book were also linked or referencing the relevant long form content that discusses it. And so, you can read the book, it's distilled content. You can go where you need to go to learn what you need to learn, given your context and your situation. I'm thinking much like the pattern book structure. I really liked that every chapter kind of started with so you're here right now. Like this is kind of where you're at right now. You're in this situation right now. And when you're in this situation, this is a problem that you often face. And when you're facing this kind of problem, here's like a certain remedy that you can deploy to resolve that issue, or to move past that problem. And I really like that structure. I'd like to have something like that, and like I said, link back maybe to deeper content, more casual content, things that can add color and commentary to the specific lesson, and personality even. That I'd hope that our body of work, our text, has personality too. And I like what we should be getting into after my monologue here, I guess, is some of the work that you did over the break to start synthesizing and think about how we might synthesize. I like that part of what you did was to generate something like a written article from our body of work. And I like that it's something that can be done in our voice because it's being generated from literally our voice, or a transcript of our voice. So yeah, anyway, I think that's like kind of a summary of my mind exploration, and where I feel I'm at right now with what I want to get out of this next chapter. And I like that it incorporates the previous chapter. And yeah, I don't know. I want to hear, I guess, some of your reactions to all of that.
Sure. So I'm hearing, before I just tell you what I prepared, because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did
sure.
write some stuff down for a few minutes here.
Cool.
The prompts are useful, orienting. So what I'm hearing is an interest in, you know, we had like 5 episodes about mining gold. We should at least write an article about how to mine the gold
Right.
based on the gold mining, mining.
Right.
And where you get out of it. You said a book. I think I actually will. Let me just read at you what I've written down, because a lot of it is, I think, the reaction to some of what we've been kind of talking about. What should our body of work look like? I thought that it must be defined by what we want to reach for and what we expect others to consume. It is defined by the value it gives to other people. For example, someone was like, forget the specifics, but we were talking IRA, right? And it was like, how do you not know about this IRA function, buddy? Let me link you to when I talked to Alex, the IRA genius, right? But I couldn't find it. Where is it? And why isn't it just an article about the thing I was thrilled to learn?
Yeah.
As well, I'm thinking, to that end, articles like Attaboy Margin, which covers the Attaboy economy and the extension of the work we did in that one episode on the margin. I think we just nailed the exploration of that topic. Frankly, thought we did a fantastic job. It was a very sound metaphor and extension. And have you heard of the book? I think it's called An Elegant Puzzle.
I've heard of the book.
This book is, I believe, about organizational growth. Might be even hypergrowth, like very fast. I think it's like about Uber even. And it was a collection of articles this person wrote that turned into a book. And so I'm thinking what we probably want is, at the very least, one of our artifacts is going to be canonical articles. And if there's any kind of through line or theme, even if not a through line, such that they make sense as a collection, I probably wouldn't put IRA stuff in the same bucket as the Attaboy economy. But for the things that are related, those can be packaged and they can be turned into a book,
Right.
And you don't even need a Patreon. You can just put it on Amazon Kindle. There's a whole, you just pop it up there, people can buy it. Though we as well, we could see like Patreon's the way to go or something.
Well, what if you changed the book often? Came to mind. That's why I said like a living book.
Oh, like a second edition? But so we could as well, have maybe the latest version of the book if you're on our Patreon or something. That could be a good idea. And then we render, we compile editions annually,
Okay.
maybe.
That'd be fun.
And, a book is just asking to be a workshop or a course.
Sure.
If you want to talk about it and you listened to the long form and you're just dying to prod, about, what are you talking about? So these are the items I got into, and I think they directly address it. And I mean, I think it would be fun, not immediately, but during this session, to review what I had done to get the Attaboy economy document. I think Claude did a great job of turning our words into an article I would have written, where it's not slop. It's you're having a proper editor support.
Yeah. I would. So this brings more to mind, or reminds me of some of the stuff I was thinking about at the time. I've said this to you before, but I'll reiterate just for the context right now. A really fantastic piece of advice that I was given a long time ago was Curtis Michelson. I'll even give him a shout out. Maybe he listens. I don't know. How cool would that be? Doubt it.
Zero
but if he ever
chance.
does, yeah. So we were doing Product Tank together, and I asked him, how, first of all, I don't love making presentations. I actually dislike making presentations usually. And so it seemed to me like a not nice thing to do to call somebody and be like, hey, on short notice, can you show up with a presentation and give it to these people for free? And he's like, no, these people, they do it all the time. And I was like, well, how do they, and he's like, well, what they do is all these folks, they have like 100 slides, of just their favorite stuff to talk about. And when you hit them up about a presentation, they're like, well, do you want me to talk about this or about this? And you give them kind of an idea of a topic to hit on, and they'll grab a handful of their slides around that topic, and that's their presentation. That's what they'll do. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. I need to make myself a handful of slides, or I need to make myself a collection of slides. And I did. I got started on that. We kind of share them. And I'd feel pretty confident giving a presentation with a handful of those slides. That'd be pretty fun. And it made me think, in addition to a book, I think really every chapter should have slides that go along with them, and we should be able to present. And so, like you were saying, we have this like book. You can maybe buy the book, or maybe you're on Patreon. You have access to the latest version of the book, whatever it is we were just talking about. And in addition to that, like you were saying, if you want a workshop or training on any portion or collection of that, I want to be prepared to do that and to give that for a lot of money, a lot of money. And so anyway, I think the reason I keep coming back to this term like body of work is, to me, something about a body is that it's all connected parts. It's not just you've got slides floating out here for one purpose, you've got a book over here for another purpose, you got a ton of audio recorded, and it's all overlapping content, but none of it is cohesive and none of it is a body. I want to make it into a body, so that it feels like it's all interconnected and you can get from one part of the body to another part of the body through our ecosystem or whatever. So anyway, I think something else that I would love to see, because, correct me if I'm wrong, you just talked about how you made what you synthesized was a article basically on our concept of the attaboy economy, right? And I'm wondering, did you just think, hey, let me make one on that attaboy economy topic? I assume it didn't suggest that you use that topic. I assume that you on purpose said, hey, go look for stuff related to this topic and put together an article for me, right? I don't need to dive deeply into it, but that's basically what you did, right?
So I knew that you were going to start pulling on the thread of processing our previous transcription, and I have been putting off like, oh, I gotta let go to the thing that we used to record it, and I gotta pull the transcript down. I wish I could just make AI do this. And I was like, what is he actually asking for? And so I had AI build me a loop that takes in the RSS that we publish and pull down each of our MP3s from that list in a loop, rip the transcript using Whisper on my home lab, and then, saving the whisper.txt per episode slug. And as I was watching it, I saw attaboy margin, and I was like, ooh, that's a good one. I remember that being extremely well contained and self-contained, where it's not an aggregation among episodes. I won't be distilling the many times that we referred to gold.
Mm-hmm.
I will be, hi, can you take this transcript where we effing nailed it and make it into an article, please? And so that's how it came about.
Okay, cool.
I would also ask, actually, can you briefly expound, just briefly, on the deck? Because you were hinting at the fact that we had this material. Can you share what it is you're referring to? We have a deck of
patterns.
Is that the pattern deck?
Yeah, it's a pattern deck. I think it's called Master Patterns or something.
Master Patterns?
I think so.
We're also going to refer to this internally as the PP canon.
PP canon.
To refer to the pattern practice canon. So for, this article, and we can get into, well, where do you want to go? Here's a few offers.
Well, no, I was going somewhere already, but I was just, I just needed you to say, yeah, that's what I was doing. So anyway, that's what you were doing.
That was too much. We can cut it out.
No, that's cool. No. That's fine. It's good context. So yeah, that's what you were doing. And something, I want to go deeper. I think that what you said a second ago that you didn't necessarily want to do is actually exactly what I want to do, which is find topics that cut across many episodes and synthesize something across those many episodes.
Do you want to do that right now?
Maybe, but hold on. Let me at least get the thought out.
Well, just say.
I know, but yes. Okay, yeah, I totally do. We've got another 40 minutes, bro. Of course.
Gave you an offer,
yes,
slapped it out of my hand. That's fine. That's why I had a question.
It's fine because we're missing a step. So the step that I think we're missing, which is really what I think I was asking for, I just didn't have the right words. I didn't ask for it. It was what I was trying to ask for, is an index. I want an index of our episodes. And by an index, I mean like an index at the end of a book where you get there and you have every topic,
Yes.
every possible term and topic you could come up with. It's all there at the end of the book. And then you have page numbers, right? I want episode numbers. Okay. I want an index of all of our hot topics and I want episode numbers for those. And then I want to go through that index, pull out the topics that we feel would be relevant toward a book. Because certainly, if you ask ChatGPT to put together an index, there are going to be things that were like, yeah, that was stupid, or whatever. Nobody cares about that thing. That's not going in the book. So of course, there's going to be some. We're not just going to create the index and then have AI take the index and then go make a book from the index. Now I'm down with that. I think that is actually where I want to go, but I think we should do some filtering, obviously. But that's it. That's the concept. That was what I kind of wanted to get across. And what do you think of that? Because I skipped that step and that was really where my mind's eye was looking, and I didn't know how to articulate it at the time. And now that I've said it this way, it almost feels silly because that's the simplest concept ever to refer to like a book index. But that's what I want. I want an index of our coolest topics. And I want, really all of our topics. So it's like, look through every episode. What was even talked about in that episode? Do that for every episode. And then go back and find where there are recurrences, and put those together and do an index and index that. I'm going to stop repeating myself. You get it.
That sounds extremely doable.
Sweet.
In short order.
Okay. Well,
my plan was to share my screen and then open up Codex in my transcript folder and just start making demands.
Oh man, that's exciting. That's really cool. Wow, if we better be careful. This might become like a routine for us where we spend like the first part of the episode talking about something cool and then the second part of the episode building something cool. And it's like two episodes an episode or something. Yeah, I don't know. It'd suck if something consistent and awesome came out of this, but let's do that, man.
Well, it's funny. I do want to take a brief aside.
Sure.
So at work, I'm moving so fast at work. It's ridiculous. So I've been back since Monday, right? And I'm already 40% of the way through my premium GitHub Copilot request quota because I'm just moving so much code every day. I do like a big feature every single day. And I'm going to run out in like a week or two.
And what happens then? You buy more or?
Well, no, then I'm actually going to ask my boss on Thursday if I have a token budget for just spending raw Bedrock tokens through Claude Code, where I don't have a sub, I just burn AWS, as much as they're willing to tolerate. And I hope he's going to be like, yeah, you can have $1,000 a month because that's probably what I'll spend. Either that or give me, 5 Anthropic subscriptions, Either, it's up to you guys, however you guys want to play it. Or I could just take a break, because I ain't coding by hand. That's stupid. Anyway, so if you want to get right into it, let's maybe I think it would be fun to look over how the Attaboy margin article came together, not read the entire article, but skim through the process I was exploring, and then look at what we have access to in my little code base here I'm looking down at. Does that sound like fun?
That sounds like a blast, yeah.
Okay, a blast. All right, let me zoom in here. Let me hide these. There we go. The less editing, the better. Screen. Allow. Window. Tab. Attaboy. All right, did that work? Is it working?
I see a screen.
Okay, cool. So I told you how I transcribed everything. It would work for any podcast, by the way, if you had any other curiosities about how to process data that you've ever seen. I don't know if we want to have any kind of talk with Alex about sources of information that can be exploited for monetary gain. But anyway, I want to show you this. I took the entire transcript. All right. This was episode whatever. Okay,
Full transcript of a single episode.
This is 598 lines, all right, of a single episode with no speaker labels either.
It's just words. Okay,
It's just words. Okay, so this is the worst it'll ever be. And I was like, do you see the Attaboy economy margin, etc. section? Yes, I found it, blah, blah, blah. And I said, provide and I'm reading this because of our, audio listeners. Not everyone's on the video here. Provide a high-level bullet list of the section headers you'd expect the speakers in the transcript to write based on what was said about it, and nothing else that can't be directly derived from the speech in the transcript. And it was like, oh, here's all the concepts. Okay, you don't just say write an article. You say, find the concepts, right? And then I said, write the full article per concept, like per section, right? And so, boom, the attaboy economy, why blah, blah, blah. And then I had some back and forth with it, like, oh, you should include the attaboy definition, because it was like doing it late in the game. And then I was like, oh, reflect on this draft. You don't
at one point it's called attaboy something else. I don't even know. It was like add a boy or something.
Yeah, there's a couple. And I see this is stuff we're gonna have to get better at, where we have to be like, listen, this was a transcript. Don't get tricked into the literal words that are typed here. Okay, you might need to sound it out. Like here, give me the article, and then so boom, the attaboy economy, managing margin with your engineers. That's a fantastic title.
Yeah.
There's the concept, there's the high margin scenario, why you can't throw them under the bus. The Thursday afternoon problem is going to be a Mike-ism, guaranteed. Okay. Sounds like you're running into the Thursday afternoon problem. What's the Thursday afternoon problem? Well, let me pop the deck open. All right. The communication fix, the attaboy economy. And I mean, I don't know if the output is something we would just paste, but I wouldn't hate to paste this as is and then update it if I hate it, But just from the direct transcript, I think we were able to put together a pretty sensible draft. We have to work on the harness around, what we ask and a list of things we always demand, or whatever. But if we start building out the pipeline for it, we can start, dumping stuff in there. And what stuff do we dump in there? Things indexed to the topic we want to publish about. Indexed, I think, is a good point I had not considered personally.
Oh, snap.
So, yeah, there's the article generation. And I was like, reflect. And I haven't even read this, so don't be defensive.
Okay. I love this. So it's interesting, right? Because it's like we're talking about a pipeline, which we haven't yet really tried to visualize, but this is really what I see as near the end of the pipeline. Because the pipeline starts with recording a raw episode and, processing that to whatever degree we process it and getting that online. And then you have a collection of episodes. And then the next step in the pipeline is creating an index. And then once you have an index, you can choose portions of the index to act upon. And from that, you get to the stage that you just described, where you, from the index, go to the source material in whatever n number of episodes it was discussed in, pull the entire transcript, pull the parts of the transcript that address that specific topic out, and then proceed to make your article with those parts, just like you've done. And what I love about that is, like, it's still us. It's not like we're like, hey, Claude, go write a book about whatever. It's like, yeah, we're having it right, but it's more like a ghost writer, or a
an editor.
An editor. Yeah, no. What is the person who writes what someone is saying? What is that person?
So you have the dictator.
I know. I almost
you have the stenographer. No, that's what
like
that's
a court
what
job
is.
Yeah, scribe. I don't know. Maybe scribe.
Scribe.
I don't know.
Scribe is close enough.
I don't know.
You'd usually have your secretary do the work.
Yeah, I don't know. Now that just sounds like AI note taking. But anyway, it's something like, it's like assisted writing, but all the content is
to this. I've been referring to this thing as, you are my editor. You are not a subject matter expert. You are here to transform my words and paraphrasing of my words into this format, okay? This is not about you adding gaps, adding into the gaps, okay? If you notice a gap, okay, ask me, okay?
Yeah.
But nothing from you.
Yeah. Is it dumb to say that it's synthesis versus genesis? It's like synthesize our work.
Yeah.
Don't generate new shit. Like, I don't care
like
about
that.
your ideas. I don't care what you think, you stupid clanker. Just do.
Dropping the C word on the pod, episode 2.
What? What? We don't say. You're not a flesh guy? You're not into
dropping clanker with the hard C.
Yeah, well, anyway.
No, the sharp C. C sharp. The sharp C.
That's good, dude. That's good. If nobody's said that yet, that's us. That's yours. That's ours.
Thank you.
Okay, well, anyway, yeah, I don't care about the robots' ideas. Like, I just want our ideas, and I want them organized. I think that's the problem. And that, to me, is like to get at like a philosophical root of it. What is something that you hear in like every retro? I feel like this comes up all the time. It's like, we need better documentation. We need better documentation. Like you hear it in your head. You hear it in like the back of your mind. We need better documentation all the time. All the time. We need better documentation. And it's always the same two problems, right? Is it two problems? It's the same problems. It's like nobody's keeping the documents up to date. So as soon as you write something, it's practically, out of date, not long after. And no one can ever fucking find what they need when they need to look for it, And I know you're actually doing a lot of work with that. What is RGB? Is that the acronym for, or not RGB, RAG, right? Say what the acronym means. RAG, when you're...
Well, so there's generation, and then there's generation augmented by retrieval. Retrieval augmented generation.
There you go. Exactly. And really what I love about that is like you can have this big, gross, messy body of documentation and you can get relevant insights out of that no matter how messy it is. I love that concept, And I think that is going to help a lot with the documentation problem in general. It's going to help us keep old things up to date. It's going to help us find the things that we want to find. And when I say keep old things up to date, I don't really mean what I say when I say that. I mean, like, when you add something new, it takes some kind of precedence over the older stuff. And so you don't even need to like update the old stuff technically. You can just keep adding to your pile of documentation, but it's smart enough to remain useful. Given that concept, taking that concept, I want to apply it to our documentation, our body of work, our content, and have something useful that is easier to engage with than how many 100 hours? Like 100-something hours? Under 200 hours, right? Over 100 hours, under 200 hours of video content. Well, no, audio content. And then video content, I think probably under like 50 hours. We had 130
episodes that averaged about an hour, probably less. So you're looking at over 100 hours.
Definitely over 100 hours, right? Yeah, nobody's got time for all that. If you want to just go learn something, you have to be like a super fan to say like, oh yeah, I've seen all 100 or whatever hours. I've listened to all 100-something hours. But I don't want only super fans to benefit, Anyway.
No, I think that makes sense. And I mean, that's kind of the point, right? Is you're welcome to join us on the journey. Okay. And if you missed the trek, all right, books on Amazon.
Yeah, for sure.
Or the articles. And I was even thinking we could as well start publishing the episode itself with just the whole transcript. Could be like a Substack article.
Yeah. So how big is our body of work right now from like through the eyes of an LLM? So what you've done, what we talked about a second ago was you working on, I believe, a single episode. So like you pulled a full transcript for a single episode. What happens when you try to process an index out of over 100 hours? I guess you do one at a time, and then you go back and you take the little mini indexes from each episode, and then you compile them, and then you do an... Okay,
that is precisely correct.
That's map.
If I were
whatever.
challenged to do this, which it appears I will be, it's kind of like MapReduce.
Yeah, kind of like.
Though, well, but if we were...
The only reason I knew to say what I said is because of the MapReduce lessons.
You're correct to make an appeal to MapReduce, but it is more specifically I'm imagining a process, the process I'll probably pursue, maybe even in front of you right now, is given the episode 1 transcript, here's the loop. We start from the beginning. From the episode 1 transcript, really you're just looking to have a list of concepts, fairly high-level concepts, and we'll find the right word to pull out the thing we're actually looking for. Find the high-level concepts for this episode. Save it in concepts.txt, right in that folder for that episode. Then you go to episode 2, and you include the index you have made so far in the context. The index. And then you just include the index as you go down, and by the time you get to the end, you're like, here's the index, which is not going to be gigantic.
Okay, because the index isn't huge anyway, because it's just an index. In any book, it's going to be a few pages or whatever. So every iteration, you tack on the newly updated index, and so it's got the context of the index. It knows what it's looking for. So it's like, look for all of these concepts plus any new ones, right?
Look, more gold.
Yeah.
Look, more on the attaboy. You know? And then when you go to make these references, you can maybe combine the indexes and have them start referring to each other. But then, you know, once that's done, there's your index. Great. And maybe we even publish the index. You know?
Yeah, well, right, because that could be cool too, just as something sitting on our website somewhere, like, hey, here's our index if you are interested in any of these topics. Here's how you... Dude, I personally will get a lot of use out of just the index existing in its raw form, because there are things that we've talked about and I'm like, ooh, there was that one time, and there's no hope of me going and finding it unless it's in like the episode title, you know? So that would be really fun. I'm curious to see the breadth of topics that we discussed, just because of how like no holds barred our format was. I think that there will be some kind of benefits to that, in that we have this broad scope of topics, and I think we'll maybe be surprised to look at the end. We may even want to sort of like categorize the index. You know what I mean? When you go to the index of a book, it's an alphabetical index of like words, you know, maybe very short phrases, terms. But I think our index should maybe be categorized, because I think there will be maybe some broader areas of focus that we can lump them into. But hey, look, then, you know, we've got that turns our index into a table of contents almost, you know. It becomes something we can act upon, because it's like, oh, we can have like our book, but there's, I don't know, maybe other stuff. Everything that we talked about with Alex, like, what is that? You know, what's that going to be? Is that relevant to this like business book? I mean, you say no.
Some of it.
Some of it might be. Some of it might be. And some of it maybe not at all. But then what's that? Where does that live? Should we just not generate anything from it because it's like, you know, it's not on brand or something? Or is it still on brand? Or maybe should we just do something separate with it? Side hustle with Alex? I don't know. I'm just saying fun. To me, the idea of having an index that we can review, just literally that very next step, sounds thrilling to me. So how do we get there? We have 20 minutes. I don't think we can do the whole thing, because I feel like pulling the transcript from all 100 some hours is going to take a minute.
You're killing me, dude.
Unless you already have it all.
So I already have all of the transcripts.
My goodness. Okay.
Well, that's what I was saying, is I went through and did the work
for every episodes.
I
thought you just did like a proof of concept on like one episode. But I was sleep deprived. I was driving a lot. I might have missed a key point.
So here's what I did. Let me show you. Entire screen. Am I going to regret this? What else am I working on? Let's see. I got Instant Coffee, BIOS Net, First Mover, BIOS Kubuntu. Yeah, this doesn't. I'm not going to regret showing all of this. All right. So now, why would it pop over to a different window? Note to self, cut that little section out. Okay, check this out. So I was like, write me a script. Here's the URL. Go to that URL, figure out what the JSON looks like, and rip down the MP3s and run them against my Whisper service that I'm hosting in my LAN. If I send an MP3 to that, it'll send back the words in the MP3.
No problems with a listener seeing that URL or anything?
No,
I assumed you considered it before even showing it, but I couldn't help but ask.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Cool. You get fucking DDoSed on your episode repo, but whatever.
I can't be DDoSed because it's all on LAN. It's a 192.168 IP.
True.
You can only get there if you're on my network, so I don't think it matters.
Can you get there anyway? Okay.
Anyway. Oh, yeah, you couldn't go there. Try to go there right now. You couldn't do it.
Sure. Okay.
Unless you're also hosting something on the exact IP, which you're not. All right. Here we go. Okay, so it went through, ripped down all the MP3s, and just did some stuff, and then, boom, episodes. Here's all of them. Here's all the episodes, complete with their episode slug. And so here's Ryan on the Rocket Pod.
Dude, see, There's got to be something... There's got to be something good in the Rocket Pod.
You know, there's no way we wasted our whole day talking Rocket Pod. You know? So, to that end, I think it would be fun to do something like... I'm just going to make Codex do it.
Okay.
Hey, go look at the first entry. No. So I have a folder full of episode transcripts at like data, cache, source, episodes, /* whisper star. What is that? Star. Oh. Whisper.txt. Okay. So go to the first one and start building me an index of topics like I would expect in a book. You know what to do.
Just give it the confidence. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
So we'll see what happens. And we can talk while this is running.
At like they even at liked it on the.
This is how I talk. People laugh at how I talk to LLMs. Okay, but they don't laugh at my results. All right. But they do. This is exactly how I talk to them, and I swear to God, it makes them smarter.
Yeah.
If you're like, listen, bud, because it like definitely activates something in the way people speak on the internet. Okay.
Absolutely.
That gives it like a vibe here.
Yeah.
And so it's, I guess, just picking Money Meta Monday Mini Meta Whisper.
I notice if you type like UGH, like UGH before your follow-up question, it thinks longer.
Yeah, you can also just
ask
frown
a question,
at it.
It replies and you go, ugh, and ask a follow-up. It fucking sits and thinks for a minute.
If you just send it a frown, parentheses, like, it'll find its mistake. The user is unhappy with me. Boom. Check it out.
Oh, dude, what the fuck? Wait, it did the whole thing already? That's the whole body of work?
Well, it did this episode.
Oh, that's one episode. Holy shit. That's a heavy index for one episode.
Yeah, start merging as you go. Pick one that isn't about Alex. No, wait. Do the brutal sprints one next.
Why not from episode... why not start to finish?
Oh, I figured we were just going to poke around for a sec.
Oh, we're just playing around. Okay, yeah. No, that's fine.
What we really need to do is set up a pipeline and normalize the episodes because some of them don't even have the number in them.
Yes,
it's a whole
concept and stuff. Okay, yeah, totally.
This is just for fun because this is reading the whole thing into context.
Fun. Yeah. We're proof of concepting here.
In fact, you wasted your... No. Proceed. Capturing line number. So, yeah. So let's see what it's got so far. Do we have new data in episodes? What is it? 104 mega. Oh, it didn't save the. Oh, index. Oh, okay. So here's what this looks like so far. We can poke at this while this guy's running.
Alarms and reminders. 2 to 38. Oh, wait. Oh, so what are those?
These are
timestamps?
lines. These are lines in the transcript.
Okay.
So we have
Got it.
Bitcoin, HELOC strategy, price dip buying. These are a little more granular.
I was going to say, I think this is...
which is its own lesson.
Right. No, yeah. That's the point of the proof of concepting, right? That's what I learned about when you said, like, we're poking around. It's like, oh, well, obviously we don't know exactly what results we're going to get. And we haven't fine-tuned kind of how we want it to behave as it does this. So maybe doing a couple hand-picked episodes at a time is a good start. And then when we're happy with what it's producing, we can do the whole canon.
I see, exactly. Because you don't want to just do a perfect job the first time, right?
Well, you'd burn up all these tokens for what,
I mean, I'm on the pro plan, and I'm kind of bummed out that you missed the just book club call where he was just giving away $2,000. It's $200 a month. I'm gonna be I don't know what I'm gonna do once my year runs out.
I know.
I'm gonna have to.
It's like,
I don't even know.
Like the Hercules cartoon movie where like he loses his powers.
That's gonna be me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be weak.
Just like limp, weak Hercules. Yeah.
Okay, it's giving us a per episode index and then a master index. Ooh. Oh, that is nasty. I love that.
What? Brutal sprints?
No, that it's doing an index with the source lines. Look at that.
God.
We talk about the emergency fund a couple times. I talk about Lang chain.
Are you starting to see a little bit like why this vision excites me so much?
Well, what is it that you think might be getting revealed here? Can you keep pulling on that? Oh, did it pause? Who told you could stop working on this? No, you don't want to be mean to him.
Well, because how in the past and this is maybe just one thing that excites me. It's not like all of it. But for example, we've talked about mining the gold as if it's like you record an hour-long episode and then you go find a 60-second clip that was gold, right? I'm thinking like you record 100 hours and then you make a 60-second supercut of the 4 different times where you talked about this one specific topic, and the supercut is brilliant, something like that. How another thing that comes to mind, how there have been times where you're like, hey, Dub, you've talked about that before. You want to say that again for the audience, and we'll see if you, and once in a while you're like, oh, you nailed it. Like, we nailed it on that one. That's like the canonical definition right there. I think that there are some things that we've talked about where we've done that more than once for the same topic. And it'd be interesting to me to see them supercut kind of together, and to turn them into something really useful and valuable. And then again, I really think if we could take really awesome supercuts, we could also turn those into like animated shorts, and they could be really entertaining, little comedy, but smart business animated shorts that are built on top of supercuts of our long form podcast episodes. Like that's what's exciting me, at least. That's the vision.
The technology is absolutely there to make shorts. And I'm down to spend a little money on doing some shorts, little VO3 action. Like, you could do some proper shorts.
I mean, me too. That gets me excited enough. Like, I'm definitely willing to spend money on that. I think it'd be fun. I'm
glad you said something, because I was kind of hoping you would say that you would maybe spend some money on.
I would love to do that. Yeah, no, we get to a point where it feels like we can do some animation. Hell yeah, I'm unfund that.
Because I feel like you're Mr. Artsy, like you're the, Vision Channel kind of guy.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Organized, and I've read the master index. I love it. See, it's bringing the master index back in. Okay, and the master index is not long, honestly, in grand scheme. All right, rocket pod. Look at this one. Look at this. Look at the rocket pod. All right, AI agents,
Okay.
automation, audio quality, and mic setup.
Dude,
okay.
Imagine the index for audio quality and mic setup right now.
Oh no!
Imagine, dude, we could probably write a book on just audio quality and mic setup. We could be like,
It'd be terrible.
What if that's how we become multimillionaires? Is we actually are the leading.
We solve the microphone problem.
We solve audio setup for podcasters. Wow, how fun! Did I tell you, just as an aside, did I tell you that at poker night, there's another podcast guy? And not Frankie. Like, you remember Frankie, right?
I do remember Frankie. Episode, whatever,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We talked to Frankie, right. There's another guy that comes to poker night now, and he owns a podcasting studio here in Central Texas. They have podcasters pay by the hour to use their studio. How cool is that? And he was telling me that so they do that, and as part of your membership, you also get membership to this kind of like health and wellness club that they're like connected to in the same building. So it's almost like a combo membership, and they have like saunas and stuff. And so this guy tells me, he's like, yeah, so I sit in the sauna, in the window on the sauna, I can see the studio. So I can see my customers coming and going while I'm hanging out in the sauna. I thought that was really funny. But anyway, I thought you'd be interested in hearing about...
that guy's got it figured out.
I know. I told him, I was like, if I ever have a local guest, like maybe I could take Eric Summerfield and go do our episode, from the studio sometime. So just a cool thing. I thought you'd be interested.
That'd be cool.
I was like, are you kidding me?
Over the internet.
Yeah. It's a real podcast dense poker night.
But hey, so how is this looking so far as a first pass? I'm not asking, can I publish this? I'm asking, reflect, if you will, on how this is going so far. Is this what you were hoping for?
So, in my mind, the granularity was just episode numbers, but this is like even cooler, because it's you have a concept, and then you have all the episodes and where in the episode essentially it was discussed. I was just going to ask what if it's discussed in multiple points in the same episode, but I already see an example of that there. Yep, you just highlighted it. So for anyone who's listening,
this is a good one all by itself. When we talked about just to Levi, because like where's like Silk Road, and then like Hardcap Gresham's Law, Conceived in Liberty, Professor's Teaching Method. And like, I think what we're going to wind up wanting to do, though, is characterizing this index in a way. Yes. Don't stop, never stopping. We got 4 minutes left, though.
Yeah.
I think this was cute. I think this was cute. If I had to invest my time into something, would you be most excited about an index when publishing the first episode, which will be done
publishing the first episode
by the time the listeners hear it?
I think the index, like you said, could be probably 1 degree higher in level of granularity. Like, I think it's maybe a little, literally say those words. Yeah, that'd be cool. Does it know what you mean by higher versus lower? Like higher granularity versus higher level. Yeah, like less granular. So that I would say it needs some adjustment, but otherwise, yeah, this is extremely exciting to me. To me, and I don't know about then circling back to making video somehow available in this way. But it'd be really interesting to me to be able to say, for, well, all of these are pretty narrow. Bitcoin, okay? How about Bitcoin? I want to watch all of Bitcoin-related pattern practice, and you can just click the Bitcoin link and then watch pattern practice talks about Bitcoin, a supercut.
Index-oriented supercut is a fun idea.
What do you think of that? Is that, I mean, maybe it's slop, maybe it's crap, but I'd be interested to see the outcome.
It would be interesting. I think as long as you don't do a hard cut and you do like a little bit of a fade.
Sure, like a
between them. Yeah, exactly. What do you think about this for granularity?
Let me see this. What am I looking at here? Beverage chat, seltzer flavors, student 14, work project, frustration, practical tools, 1624. Is this for a single episode?
Yeah, this is for analytics review, not bad.
Infinite voting math, YouTube video downloading, content strategy, shorts versus long clips, platform analytics and monetization, podcast production improvements, guest prep, and what is this, a meta episode? AI and
Let's
ML
go find
startup.
out. 85.
Oh, analytics review.
Bro, what the hell are we talking about sometimes?
I know, right? Yeah, some of these will probably be garbage.
Your closet looks tight. It's a tight closet. It's like, what are we talking? Who is this for?
Well, have you ever read any Cormac McCarthy?
I don't know.
He doesn't use.
Let's say no.
He doesn't really use quote. Well, he doesn't use grammar for shit. He basically only uses periods. So he doesn't really use commas or quotes or anything like that. So when you're reading, sometimes you get lost in the dialogue because you're like, there's no quotes. There's no so and so said kind of thing. It's like you read, a page of dialogue and you got to kind of keep in your mind's eye who's saying what. It's an interesting way to write. Anyway, it's it reads exactly like these transcripts. So you're kind of like, what the fuck?
And we can go back eventually too, and we'll have speaker labels and timestamps, and we could put some stuff together. And I think the index is an interesting idea. I think I know what you mean. I think what you might have even more meant was an index of pattern oriented.
Yes. Yes.
You don't necessarily want every time we mentioned Bitcoin, do you? Do you want them to be lessons, an index of takeaways, an index of the gold, perhaps? I should have it find everywhere we described the gold, make that into an article, and then use that to help make the index. That's how I work during my day. That's exactly what I do.
That's really interesting.
Just find ways of having the context hydrate itself.
Yeah. Okay, so I would say you asked what I would be most excited about, and we're in our final seconds here. So I am most excited about working on the index, and I am interested to see what you might come up with. I think you're right about the outcome that we're looking for, more pattern oriented. I do think there are some topics like Bitcoin that could be really interesting to see a supercut of all of our stuff. Not that Bitcoin is something we are really who anyone should seek out their Bitcoin knowledge from. It's not exactly a Bitcoin show. Machine learning, AI, stuff like that. I think that there's a lot of great content that we've discussed. I mean, we've had Mabry several times, we've had others. And I don't know that AI is the pattern, and AI might be too broad. So I'm not sure, I don't know if this index needs to have sort of a multi-layer granularity, like a bulleted kind of thing. That's why I just said episode numbers, because if you did that, you could be Bitcoin, all the episode numbers that we talked about Bitcoin, but then smaller concepts within Bitcoin in every episode that we talked about those in. I don't know how useful the lines that something was mentioned in is, but timestamps or being able to pull back out the video to do a supercut would be useful. So maybe the lines are useful. So, I'll let you play with it maybe a little bit. I know I haven't sensed that you're as excited maybe as I am, so I don't want you to do anything that you aren't excited to do. But if you see if you see something worth going for here, yeah, the index has me pretty excited because I just want to know what it is we've talked about, where we talked about it, and what. If I'm like, let's build a book out of our body of work, I'm like, dude, I don't even remember all the things that we've talked about, but I know that we've talked about a lot of great stuff. So what is it? That's part of it. I think part of it is like, I want an index because I want to be able to look at it as a human. It should be human readable, and I should be like, okay, here's everything we've ever talked about, organized a little bit. Now which pieces do we want to actually synthesize gold from? You know, where do we what do we want to pull on? Rather than just remembering, hey, we talked about that one thing that one time, let's do something. Anyway.
I think
we're 3 minutes over.
I think that's enough for me to go on, and it is interesting, and I think when we come back we'll be able to, I might even have it not done by then. I'll have more than we have today. I'm wrapping us up. Cool. This has been Build It Faster. Join us next time for more of probably this. It'll be fun. We'll have fun.
Later, buddy.